Welcome to the Pegasus fantasy known as Saint Seiya. My name is Hack, and in this video I'm covering one of the most celebrated shonen animes ever to grace Gaia's green earth. You want that old school anime action with over-the-top attacks where teenage boys fight to the death and the power of friendship trumps all? Then stick around and watch as I reveal to you, dear viewer, why you're missing out on the greatness that is
Saint Seiya! Saint Seiya!
Alright, I'm going to keep the background information short and sweet. All you need to know about Saint Seiya was that it was originally a manga series that debuted on Weekly Shonen Jump magazine back in 1985. This series is one of many popular titles created by renowned manga artist Masami Kurumada. Masami was already an established manga creator prior to Saint Seiya, but Seiya will be the manga that will receive the most attention outside of Japan, all thanks to the 1986 anime series. And in this video, I am covering the first 15 episodes of Saint Seiya, which make up the Galaxian Wars and Black Saints arcs. Our show centers around four heroes who, since they were children, were trained and pushed to become defenders of humanity. They are the Saints. In ancient times, there were warriors of the goddess Athena who protected the earth from any threat that came towards the planet or the goddess herself. In modern times, the Saints survive as elite warriors from around the globe, preserving justice and defeating evil in all its insidious forms. Our heroes are Hyoga, a mixed Japanese and Russian young man who wields a dominating power of ice. He is a proud and confident saint that will take any challenge that stands his way. Up next is Shun, a gentle-faced and peaceful boy who wields a terrifying chain weapon that can strike from any angle and can detect any enemy no matter how far they are. There is Shiryu, our most honorable and prideful saint. He wields an unbreakable shield and is a powerful martial artist able to redirect the flow of a waterfall with just the power of his kicks. And finally, we have the main man himself, Seiya, the hot-headed yet unrelenting main hero of our story. He will fight to the bitter end, and with just one technique can at least hundreds, if not thousands, of punches within mere seconds. And together the Saints will work alongside each other to battle any evildoers that threaten their world. As stated earlier, I am covering two connected storylines that serve as the foundation of Saint Seiya's overarching story. The first 15 episodes of the anime adapts what is known as the Galaxian Wars and the Black Saints arcs. The Galaxian Wars is the proper arc that introduces the world and characters of Saint Seiya. Its primary focus is on establishing our main character's goals, motivations, and building up the backstory of why our heroes became saints in the first place. And all of this takes place within the setting of the Galaxian Wars, which is a global competition in which saints fight each other in a single elimination-style tournament. The Black Saints arc is the continuation of the Galaxian Wars storyline and is where the show has its first proper antagonist, that being the titular Black Saints. Both of these arcs can be seen as one whole story, where Galaxian Wars is your Act 1 that sets up the events and gives exposition, while Black Saints are Acts 2 and 3 that focuses on the main conflict at hand and the resolution to said conflict. I will go into more details about these stories later on in the video, but there are a few aspects of Saint Seiya that are also important to share. If you have watched any action shonen anime, then you know usually there is a type of power system, martial arts techniques, or some type of gimmick to explain the fantastical elements of the stories. Examples include chakra from Naruto, ki from Dragon Ball, or devil fruit from One Piece. Well, Saint Seiya is no different, and in this world it's all about cosmic power. While very similar in concept to chakra and ki, I believe this clip can give you a better idea of how cosmic power works in the world of Saint Seiya.
It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
If you think I'm just making a silly reference, then you're not wrong. But at the same time, cosmic power, or cosmos, as the show calls it, is very much exactly like the Force, except way more ridiculous. Each saint utilizes their cosmos differently, but it all stems from this fundamental force that exists in the greater universe of Saint Seiya. And one key aspect of Cosmos is that if a saint can achieve full control of this power, then he is able to wear an ancient armor called cloths. Claws not only act as protective wear for the saints, but can also amplify their cosmos to allow them to achieve even greater feats than on their own. Each cloth has a unique ability or weapon for the saints to use. For example, as mentioned before, Shiryu has a shield for his claw that is nearly unbreakable. The claws are also unique in that each set is designed to represent certain zodiacs. This is significant as saints can draw in their cosmos from their claws' respective zodiac.
行くぞセイヤしっかり見届けろ自分の負けを何が負けだこの程度の剣で
Now that we've established all the relevant plot information, let's go in depth on the actual story and characters. To reiterate what I explained earlier, we have 4 main saints as our protagonists: Seiya, Shiryu, Shun, and Hyuga. There are also a handful of secondary characters that play important roles in the story, but for brevity, we are mainly going to focus on our 4 heroes and primary villain. Well, that's right, I haven't introduced you to our villain. Well, his name is Ikki.
お前の泣きっ面にはほとほと愛想が尽きたまず手始め純お前から血祭りにあげてやる
The fallen saint of the Phoenix Zodiac, the survivor of Death Queen Island, leader of the Black Saints, he has only one name, and that name is Ikki. A formidable saint and unrelenting fighter, Ikki is the oldest brother of Shun and is a corrupted saint with wild ambitions of world domination. Ever since he was a boy, Ikki has trained his body and mind to survive this harsh and unforgiving world. Compared to the rest of the saints, he is a cut above them, but carries a heavy heart full of anger, guilt, sadness, and vengeance. As you can tell, Ikki has a lot going on with him, but he is also a great introductory villain for our saints. When you think of well-written villains, Ikki's got it all. He's got pathos, incredible power, a dominating presence, and stands as the ideal fallen hero. He is a character where 1 second you have sympathy for him and wish he had a better life, and the next second call him a dirty bastard. Ikki is definitely one of the best parts of the story. Moving on, let's go in depth on our 4 main heroes and share what I believe makes them heroic and interesting characters on their own and as part of a team. We'll start with the title character, Seiya, as he is the first saint introduced in the series. As mentioned before, Seiya is a hot-blooded and quick-to-anger saint who dons the Pegasus cloth. He was sent to Greece as a child and was trained by a mysterious masked woman named Marin. For 6 years, he trained his body and mind to become a saint for only one reason: to see his long-lost sister again. An important backstory for all of our heroes is that each of them were raised in an orphanage run by Mitsumasa Kido. Kido is an extremely wealthy Japanese businessman who runs a giant company named the Grod Institute. It's because of him that our heroes were sent all over the world to become saints, and in regards to Seiya, Kido made a personal oath that if Seiya should become a saint, then he would reunite him with his sister, who is his only living relative. Seiya exhibits many common traits you see in shonen protagonists. He is popular and kind to younger kids, likes to tease girls his age, yet is pretty aloof about how to actually behave around them, gets riled up easily when someone mocks or belittles him, always looking forward to a challenge, and he is kind to those he sees as family or close friends. But when it's time to throw down, that's where we see Seiya at his most serious. Though he likes to taunt his opponents, Seiya, despite his immature personality at times, can be completely focused, disciplined, and surprisingly has a knack for adapting to any situation that occurs in a battle and finding a solution that gives him an advantage. Overall, Seiya is a strong protagonist who displays many fun character traits that make him stand out compared to the rest of the Saints who have more grounded and serious personalities to them. There's also an underdog element to Seiya. Many times throughout the story, he will come across opponents with a more versatile claw, deadlier techniques, and even greater cosmic powers. Yet he perseveres because of his strong will and the love and appreciation for the people in his life. Seiya is a saint who is defined by his bond with his friends and has determination to do what he believes is right.
そのリングから抜け出すことはできん。さあ、ゴールドクロスを置いて去れ。見損なうな。たとえ敗北を喫したとしても、敵に助けを請う暗黒セイントではない。やるなら一思いにやれ。そうか。なら暗黒スワンよ。その闘志に敬意を表した形で葬ってやろう。何
Next in the lineup is Hyuga. Born of mixed heritage, Hyuga dons the Cygnus Cloth, which allows him to have mastery over ice and snow. Between all the saints, Hyuga is the only one who ever had a relationship with his parents. We never know what happened to Hyuga's father, but his mother is who matters most to him. You see, Hyuga's mother, or rather her body, is preserved in the glacial lake. Hyuga regularly visits what remains of his mother in her underwater grave, and he has a strong attachment to her. She was taken away from this world when he was only a boy, and despite growing into a strong fighter and saint, Hyuga never truly moved on from her tragic death. His training destination was in Siberia. Compared to his friends, we don't learn much about Hyuga's backstory from his time at the orphanage or his time training. I suspect in future arcs we will learn more about Hyuga. As a character, he presents himself as very calm and collected. He doesn't rush his battles, preferring to let his opponents strike first and counter their attack. However, under his icy front, he can become emotionally unstable whenever his mother is mentioned. Though he is given the least amount of backstory and attention between the two arcs, the anime gives a clear characterization on who Hyuga is as a person. That being a young man who hides his pain with his powers and skills. I look forward to seeing Hyuga's character grow in the future. After Hyuga, we have a saint who is considered a fan favorite character amongst the Saint Seiya fanbase, and his name is Shiryu. Donning the Dragon Cloth, Shiryu spends his training years in China, where he grew to have his own small family with his master and a close friend named Shunrei. Compared to the other saints, Shiryu is a very devoted and selfless warrior. In fact, in the Black Saints arc, Shiryu was ready to give his all on not one, not two, but on 3 separate occasions where he was ready to die for his friends. He is also their best hand-to-hand fighter, rivaled only by Seiya. Of course, he does have one critical flaw, that being his overconfidence. Shiryu takes so much pride in his abilities as a saint that in a few circumstances, it almost cost him his life. In fact, out of all the saints, Shiryu was hanging on death's door so often that it was almost ridiculous how many ways he cheated death. In spite of his pride as a saint, he's not arrogant. Shiryu cares for his friends deeply, and he is the most mature and level-headed member of the team. He's an anchor of sorts that helps keep the team focused, motivated, and united. He's a cool breeze to Seiya's hot temper, and a warm comfort to Hyuga's icy front.
ジャブ、君はもうこれで一歩も僕に近づくことはできないよ。このアンドロメダ星雲の鎖の中へ入ろうとすれば死を覚悟しなければならないからね。その覚悟があるのならいつでも入ってきたまえ。
Our final saint, Shun, is a pivotal character in the 2 arcs. Compared to our previous heroes, Shun can be seen as the least likeliest person to be a saint. But that's what makes him unique. Despite his gentle-looking demure, Shun dons the powerful Andromeda cloth. It's quite ironic yet fitting that he will earn not only such a deadly and dangerous suit of armor, but that same armor protects him from any physical confrontation he cannot handle. Naturally, Shun is soft-spoken, kind to everyone, and doesn't take pleasure in any type of violence. Yet Shun will put up a fight if need be. We get a lot of backstory with him and his villainous brother, who both take the limelight in the Black Saints arc. Shun not only loves his brother, but also idolizes him to a fault. His whole story is him trying to reach his brother and give him a chance of redemption. Shun and Ikki carry a lot of the emotional drama and conflict in the Black Saints arc, and the show does a decent job of highlighting Shun's true strength, which doesn't come from his cosmos, his cloth, or his skill, but his heart. His friends do try to persuade him of how evil Ikki has become, yet ignores their warnings, believing he can reach his brother's broken soul. This is where we see a lot of his personal flaws, again, from the idolization of his brother, his unwillingness to accept the truth in front of him, and his poor attempts at resolving a conflict peacefully. Shun is a character that I'm most intrigued to see how he will develop in future stories. He has the most potential to stand out as a unique protagonist. Overall, I enjoyed watching the four main saints and what they brought to the story. They stood out individually and had a believable friendship and camaraderie. Not since the Ninja Turtles and the Fantastic Four have I seen a story be able to juggle a large cast of characters with deceptive ease. So far, I have pointed out many positive elements in the show, which means it's now time to put on our critic hats and point out the few flaws this show has. The first criticism that comes to my mind immediately are the Black Saints themselves. Despite having a memorable introduction, aside from Ikki, I do not exaggerate when I say the Black Saints are literally just evil doppelgangers of our heroes. They have the exact powers, armor, and even face of our heroic saints, just more evil and in black. I don't know if the manga is like this, but this is the most obvious attempt of reusing character models and animations, with the only difference is painting their cloths and their eyes black. The worst part about this is that aside from the Black Dragon Saint, each of the Black Saints are generic evil villains with no unique personalities who just serve as obstacles for our heroes. This is not to say their individual fights are not memorable or have good moments in them, but I would not be surprised if they are forgotten within the larger Saint Seiya fanbase. And lastly, while I personally don't view this as a criticism, I should mention that because this is an adaptation of an 80s shonen manga, much of the pacing, writing, and animation are of that time period's quality. What this means is that you're going to see very minor animation goofs. The story will feel fast paced as the plot does not linger on details or character moments, but the action does remain top notch in all of the battles throughout both arcs. My personal favorite fights are Shiryu vs. Seiya and Shiryu vs. the Black Dragon Saint. Again, this is not a criticism, but if you are much more accustomed to more current or modern anime, then you need to approach this show with the standards of its time in the name of fairness. And as well, because these are only the first 15 episodes of the show, we're not getting the full story. But I believe that watching both of these arcs will either make you want to keep watching the show, or at least be satisfied with what you watched if you decide to stop. Either way, you're getting a fun, entertaining anime with four great protagonists, at least one great villain, and an over-the-top action scenes. To close, I thoroughly enjoyed watching Saint Seiya, and I will continue to do so. Not since watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid or Fist of the North Star as a teenager have I gotten the same rush and excitement in watching an anime. And as much as I try to be critical of the media I enjoy, I earnestly find very little flaws that hinder my enjoyment of the show. Could there be potential issues as I keep watching? Most likely, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Otherwise, I urge everyone to at least watch the first two arcs and judge for yourself if Saint Seiya is right for you. I am happy that I finally took the time to give this show a chance and call myself a new fan. Share in the comments your experience with Saint Seiya, And of course, share this video to anyone who would enjoy this content. Thank you for watching, and this is Hack, signing.